I think you have to be very careful with what expectations have been priced in. And so if you look at the EV space full stop, rather than commenting on specific companies, the EV space full stop for the Chinese industry right now is going to be very interesting to watch for two reasons. Number one, you have an environment where the total addressable market used to be the world. Now that is moving closer to China and the global south. That's a very different equation, very different spending patterns, et cetera. And so making sure that those expectations are fully baked into forecast now is absolutely critical to the conversation. The other element to the EV story, though, that I think is going to be fascinating to watch is this dynamic EV as an ESG play versus is an EV just a consumer electronics device? In which case the replacement cycle is far faster, in which case the value of an EV 2 years after I purchase it changes far, far quicker than the value of an internal combustion engine car.
So if we take a look at what, let's say, Japan, right, which is what China is looking like now in terms of their EVs, right, did with ICE vehicles back in the day, penetrating the U.S. market, et cetera. One of the characteristics of Japanese vehicles is their product life cycles are considerably shorter. Right, they're meant to basically churn and sell new cars, right? You probably have to think that the Chinese are using a very similar model.
Yes, and the other element of the comparison that I find fascinating is there's a broad market consensus, or there has been up until recently, that the Japan reliance on hybrid technology was the wrong bet to make.
Yeah.
However, if we start to change the mindset and we view pure EV vehicles as consumer electronics devices, as disposable devices that I effectively upgrade every 2 years, maybe hybrid's actually a more interesting part of that conversation. Yeah. And in particular, as I start to push more aggressively into markets like the US, where not only range is a critical issue, but the part of the dynamic that doesn't get discussed particularly here in Singapore because we don't tow anything. But I was back in the US recently, and you tow boats, you tow trailers, you do a lot of things with your truck, right?
Boats, yeah.
The second that you do that with an electronic vehicle, you're driving to the neighborhood grocery store, and that's it, right? Like, you can't go very far with the thing. And so what's going to be fascinating to watch is this change in impression of hybrid as the wrong bet versus pure EV as the only bet to make moving forward. Maybe that's not as simple as we think.